In this video, we're going to break down two panel to play, some brand new characters for the Midnight Suns, Elsa Bloodstone and Man-Thing. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. I hope everyone is doing fantastic. Well, welcome to this another MCP video, and we've got a little Christmas, almost Christmas treat from Atomic Mass Games. We've had a couple of characters released, or 3 characters revealed already, but in this video we're going to take a look at the Elsa Bloodstone and Man-Thing pack. And joining me to break these down is Mr. Quinn Duggan. Quinn, how the hell are you doing, sir?
It me from Quinn Top Gaming. Yeah.
Took me a minute then. I usually, like, as I introduce you, it normally pops you up, but I lost which of my scenes on OBS. Yeah, we got some new stuff, Quinn. First reveals of
We got some stuff I'm actually interested in. Oh my god.
Yeah, and they are fairly interesting.
84 years, AMG.
Obviously, Elsa Bloodstone and Man-Thing, we've known about them for quite some time. They showed us the models a long time ago, and then we saw the sort of painted, they showed us the renders, didn't they? Then we saw the painted models with some artwork, and now we do have, actually not only their character cards, but we also have the tactics cards that they come with as well, which I do like, Quinn, because when we do these breakdowns, we used to say, didn't we, that, you know, a character that is middling can have an amazing tactics card and it just boosts them so much if it's that good. But let's jump in and let's start with Elsa Bloodstone, Quinn, because I quite like her and she's got a pretty good leadership, to say the least. So Elsa Bloodstone, another 4-threat character, going to be on a small base. She's 4/3/4 stat line, 6 stamina on her front, size 2, medium move. So for a 4-threat Quinn, nothing really out of the ordinary there, is there? It's pretty standard stuff, I would say, for a 4-threat. Yeah, she's got 1 builder, which is going to be monster hunting weapons. Range 4, strength 5, 0 cost, obviously. Power equal to damage dealt. On a crit, she's going to be doing a cursing shot, which is going to dish out the slow special condition after the attack is resolved. And on a wild, after the attack is resolved, it's going to dish out incinerate. So the potential of dishing out, well, for the moment, 2 conditions from 1 attack, Quinn, but we'll get on to what else she can do as well. As far as a builder goes, I think it's fine. It's got, it's
nice range.
Good range, which you'd expect, right? She does carry around. I mean, what are we saying that is? It's not quite a blunderbuss, is it?
It's like a holy water shotgun, right?
I think so, yeah, something like that.
It's got some kind of holy war in it, like, so.
Yeah, definitely. And then for her singular spender, it's going to be Blood Gem Blast. This is going to be Mystic. Range 3, strength 6, costing 1. But during the pay power step of this attack, this character may spend up to 3 additional power. Add 1 die to this attack for each power spent this way. So baseline is going to be 6 strength for 1 power. It can, Quinn, go up to a 9 strength for 4 power. And I feel like any of those in between are also pretty darn good. 1 for 1.
I mean, 2 for 7 Mystic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty grim.
And then on a wild, Degeneration, the character cannot have damage removed from it during this activation phase. Now, this is going to be a little bit niche because not everyone can remove damage from themselves, but there's a few characters out there, Quinn, aren't they, that have clapbacks. I'm thinking the likes of Venom, the likes of Dracula. who, as well as having clapbacks, also have attacks that can then heal themselves. And this would just stop them from being able to do that, which,
I
again,
mean, it also ruins Immortal Hulk, right?
it does ruin Immortal Hulk. Yeah,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah, you're removing the damage at the end of every activation. No, not anymore. No, you can have that immortality token, and you'll keep when
Yeah,
I
so
kill you, and then you'll be off the board.
yeah, so activation phase, Quinn, just for everyone at home, because it's not something we see a lot on cards, is it? What constitutes an activation phase?
It's the entire phase where various models activate. So, every turn a character takes throughout a round is part of the activation phase, which means that for an entire round, within the activation element of it, not within like the crisis resolution, everything like that, they just cannot remove damage.
Yeah, I wonder if she's going to get some tokens to kind of.
It'd be nice to get like just a little marker that you can put down to be like, yep, no patch up for you.
Yeah, so actually, I was thinking just of clapbacks and things, but actually, yeah, any form of healing, whether it's healing factor, whether it's like you say patch up, whether it's a wong, whatever it may be, because it does state they cannot have it removed. It's not like they can't remove it themselves, but somebody else can. It just turns it off completely. Let's skip down one for the moment, Quinn, and we'll get to Legion of Monsters in a moment. Run and gun. It's going to be a hit and run, but it is not limited to once per turn. So this character may immediately makes an attack action followed by a move action, cost 2 power. This uses an action, but because it's not called hit and run. What did you say it should be called, Quinn? Gun and run?
It should be called gun and run because she's shooting then moving. If
Yeah.
it worked how this was named, it would effectively be a charge
Which would be
because
crazy.
you run and then you gun.
Yeah, so lots of movement, but limited as to how she can generate power. Right, that one monster hunting weapons does mean that I think you're going to have to carefully select what you want to do with Elsa during her turn, because she isn't just going to be generating a lot of power unless you spike a monster hunting weapons or something like that. So doing 2 of these per turn probably isn't going to be something that you do too much. They've got supernatural sensors. We've seen this before. Cost 2, reactive, while this character is defending against physical or mystic during the modified dice step of the attack. You may use his superpower, reroll any number of defense dice, including failure results. So 4 and 4 for those 2 defenses, meaning that she is another Midnight Sun character who is somewhat susceptible to those energy attacks, isn't she? So again,
Yeah.
something that people do probably want to be careful of. And then lastly, Bearer of the Blood Gem. When an enemy character causes this character to gain 1 or more special conditions, after the effect is resolved, the enemy character suffers 1 damage. Additionally, this character cannot be advanced or placed by the effects of mystic attacks or enemy superpowers. So she can be thrown, she can be pushed, she just can't be advanced or placed. That Bearer of the Blood Gem's interesting, Quinn, because what a lot of people may not realise is that the text for triggers, I believe in almost all cases when it comes to dishing out conditions, they're non-optional, are they? So if you're a lower health character and you're doing, let's say you're Cable and you've got a couple of health left and you're going to hit Elsa with an attack and you get that wild, you have to give her Incinerate, which means you are going to get a damage back unless you just take her out in the one shot. So I think it's quite interesting. I think it gives your opponent a lot to think about, and it some additional chip damage that you can get off during your opponent's turn, which is quite nice. But Quinn, she is the new de facto leader for Midnight Suns.
Even if her leadership had been terrible, she was going to be the de facto leader.
Legion of Monsters. And I've got to preface this, Quinn, and say this might be one of my favourite leaderships I've seen for a long, long time in this game. Not because
it isn't re-roll a dice.
Exactly that. It's not re-roll a dice, and it's not gain a power. So once per turn, when an allied character targets a character with an attack, it may pay 1 power. If it does, the attack gains your choice of one of the following effects. Boom. Before damage is dealt, each other enemy character within 2 of the target character suffers 1 damage. Horrify. After the attack is resolved, they gain the root special condition. Or Silver Bullet. Damage caused by this attack cannot be reduced or prevented by superpowers or team tactics cards. Essentially turning somebody into Namor for an attack, which is quite nice. They've all got their purposes. They're all situational, but I feel like there's enough of them that means you're usually going to find a use for them.
I mean, there are certain characters that are just absolutely backbroken by Horrify and Silver Bullet, right? Like, if you can get a root out on someone from any attack of your choice, like, that shuts down certain characters. And Silver Bullet just going, Moon Knight, throw all the crescents you want at Thanos. He can't reduce the damage.
Yeah, well, and also...
You know what? Throw those crescents like he owes you money, Moon Knight.
Well, it is worth knowing it is limited to once per turn, and it is 1 attack, isn't it? So anything with a rapid fire or a beam attack or something like that, you're going to have to pick which of the characters you want to do it on, or which attack you want to do it on. But it does mean, Quinn, going back to her monster hunting weapons, if she gets a crit and a wild and has paid the power, she can dish out root, slow, and incinerate with one builder. And the other thing I noticed as well, Quinn, none of those have triggers. Boom, Horrify, and Silver Bullet just happen. Which is so good.
It's grim.
So good.
Like, I'm already thinking of like pairing it with other condition givers like an Electro or something and going 1 power shock root. Well, your character is no longer functioning anywhere near peak.
I'm also thinking about Ghost Rider, because of course I'm always thinking about Ghost Rider.
But you know that like Simpsons clip of like the monkey with the symbols in Homer's head? I imagine like your mind palace is just Ghost Rider sat on the bike just revving his engine.
Well, I tell you why I'm thinking of Ghost Rider, Quinn, because there's a lot of potential chip damage here, right? A huge amount of chip damage that can be done both by Elsa and with Legion of Monsters. And Ghost Rider just doubles down on that. He also gives out Hex himself as well. So I think that could be quite cool. Let's just check the other side of her card. I don't think anything changes from what I could see. Still 6 stamina, so she's a 6/6. I want to say. Did I say 6 before? Yes, I did. So she's a 6/6. Bearer of the Blood. Sometimes those innate superpowers at the end can sometimes change, but again, it doesn't look like it has done. So no, she remains exactly the same on this side. Thoughts on Elsa, Quinn?
She's pretty good. Like, in and of herself as a piece, she's nothing incredible. She's a little bit like, I don't even think she's that much more above Blade, but she is definitely above Blade, simply because she doesn't have to slog her way halfway across the board to actually do anything to anyone.
Yeah.
nor is she super redundant in terms of what her kit does.
Yep. Yeah.
And like the leadership is like probably a little below par compared to Bump, but is still very good. And I think overall, both aspects combined, she's a clear winner over Blade for me in most situations.
Yeah, I think for me, I think there's still probably going to be some people that play the Bump Blade lists, especially with the bigger base characters like an Immortal Hulk and something like that. But I think for me, her as a character and this as a leadership speaks to me more than Blade ever did. I think, just in terms of play style and what she can do, and just dishing out so many conditions. I mean, dearie me. I mean, is she a good contender for Hydra? I don't know. Like she does a lot.
Um, for four threat, you're asking a bit much in terms of the splash.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
with
probably.
Hydra specifically, you're going for either a 3-threat splash or a 5-threat splash. So you go in Drac or X-23, I think.
Yeah, that is fair. Um, she does bring Quinn a tactics card with her. It's called Covering Fire. So, unaffiliated, reactive. During the power phase, an allied Elsa Bloodstone may spend 2 power to play this card. While this character is not dazed until the end of the round, once per turn, after the first time each turn, an attack targeting this character or another allied character is resolved. If the attacker is within 4 of Elsa, this character may roll 5 dice. If it does, it deals 1 damage for each crit and each wild. So we've seen things like this before. I don't think we've ever seen them in the form of a tactics card, which is interesting.
Uh, Not in terms of like the kind of clap back,
Oh yeah, we have seen.
pseudo clap back nature.
There's the Inhumans card, and then there's the Spider Trap. What is it? One isn't there?
Inhumans card. What?
Inhumans have got the one where it gives you a VP if you kill. So you choose a character within
Yeah,
range
but that
X.
you make them drop a thing. This is just you keep pinging people the entire round.
Yeah. I
Like
know,
this
but
is
like
very different from that.
it's different in terms of what it does overall. But the mechanics of rolling dice and then doing damage based on the result is what I was meaning.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
if that's the mechanic you're talking about, like well laid plans exist. Right?
well, the plans was the one I was
You've got
thinking of. Yeah,
plenty in that vein. Yeah.
yeah. This is interesting. It it's another deterrent, I suppose. I'm not sure with this one,
Picked a
Quinn.
bit of a target on her back, I think. But maybe that's what you want it to do. It's only 2 power as well, right? Which
It is
is
only 2 power.
like
Yeah.
pretty cheap for someone who probably isn't spending one turn one.
No. No. Well, depending on what she does with her own leadership, right? Like, is she spending that one
Yeah.
to do that? To boost her, or not boost her damage, but add the leadership in. Yeah, I think it's fairly well costed. Like you say, it does paint a bit of a target on her back, but then, like you say, is that what you want? Maybe it is. It is only once per turn, because if not, I think it would be stupidly crazy. But I think that this sort of plan that I'm thinking of with this whole idea of like a lot of chip damage characters and things going on, this would definitely play into that, and I think could work with it, because even if it does pin a target on her back, and Ghost Rider's there, hey, guess what? If you don't get her in a one shot, she's going to be able to do this, and Ghost Rider's going to be able to do stuff as well. So yeah, interesting. Definitely not a card I think is stapled, Quinn, but I think there's probably places you can find it is useful. I don't know.
Yeah, it will often end up as the 5th card, I think. Like,
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
fair.
in that 5th card slot rather than that 10th card slot, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's going to very much depend on who you pair her with and what tactics cards they bring, I think, isn't it? If you're taking characters that don't bring a lot of good tactics cards, then you'll probably have room for it. But let's have a look at her counterpart then, Quinn, where in the box, which is going to be Theodore Salis, aka Man Thing, who is a 3 threat and is a pretty good 3 threat at that. 334.
Yeah, surprisingly good.
Yeah, 334 stat line. So again, for a 3 threat, he's got that extra little 1 in there, which is nice. 6 stamina on his front is going to be size 3, and I think he's on a medium base, Quinn, with a short move. I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, I don't think he's on a large.
No, I didn't think he was on a large. He's got 1 builder, which is going to be lashing tendrils, range 3, strength 5. After this attack is resolved, this character gains power equal to damage dealt. Pretty standard stuff. But then on a wild hit, it's reeling. After this attack is resolved, if the target character is size 3 or less, it may be pushed towards this character. It's almost like there's a word for that. That could have taken up less text. It is a short
almost
push.
like they learned what that word was in Shatterpoint as well.
Yeah, isn't it? And we'll get on to why that can be a good thing, because you might be looking at it and going, well, because we've seen these before, haven't we, where if somebody can pull you in, then they usually have a range 2 follow-up attack or something they can do. But emotional agitation is just going to be a range 3 attack again. Cost 3, 7 strength. And then after the attack is resolved, incinerate and poison. So no triggers on them whatsoever, which makes this so much better than it could have been, than it would have been if they needed a crit in a wild or something like that, isn't it? Because you know that for 3 power, you're guaranteed to be able to do incinerate and poison, something you would probably spend 2 power on as a superpower. And you get to make an attack at the end of it. Now, obviously, it's using an action, but I think it's still pretty good return on investment. He is the guardian of the nexus of all realities, Quinn. Cost 3 power. Choose this character or another allied character within 3 and place the chosen character within 3 of its current position. A character can only be affected by this superpower once per turn. I thought we'd stop doing things like this, Quinn, where you could just move around multiple characters.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's limited to allied, right?
If this was enemy characters,
If this was Scalpel of Strange, this would be absolutely mental. Like the fact it's limited to allied characters, I think it allows it to exist in the game, right?
Yeah.
When all those other things have been taken out,
this
is fine.
Yeah, and it costs 3, so it's quite expensive. But he is a 3-threat character, being able to do something like this, so they have to cost it as such, don't they? He's got quite a few innates going on here, Quinn. So first of all, we've got all who know fear burn at the Man Thing's touch. After an attack made by this character is resolved, or after an attack targeting this character is resolved, if damage was dealt and the enemy character is within 2 of this character, the enemy character gains Incinerate. So going back to that lashing tendrils, Quinn, because of timing and how it works, you can do your lashing tendrils. If you get your trigger, you can push them towards you. It pains me to even say those two words together. And they get Incinerate because they're going to be within, if you're at range 3 and you push them short, as long as there's nothing else in the way, you're going to give them Incinerate as well, which is quite nice.
It's a shame you can't Incinerate Daredevil.
Why can you not Incinerate Daredevil?
He's the man without fear.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He doesn't know fear, so he can't burn at the Man Thing's touch.
Well, is he aware of fear? It just doesn't affect him.
Well, how are we defining knowing fear? Do you have to know fear personally? Or, I know that Florence Pugh exists. It doesn't mean that I know Florence Pugh. right?
Yeah, but knowing of her knowing of her existence. So, does he know of its existence? And are we saying that because he?
But that would be all who know of fear, right?
That is true. That is true.
I rest my case.
And just for
I plead the Pew defense.
just for clarification, he can incinerate Daredevil, just in case anyone was thinking that like it was a counter to it. We've got moss and mud and swamp. When this character is defending, enemy characters do not roll additional dice for crit results in their attack rolls. Do not underestimate how this drags down a character's potential damage output. Just having their base dice is real good. I mean, essentially, they are hexed against Man-Thing at all times. So it's pretty darn good, and it will help him with his survivability, Quinn, won't it? And then lastly, we've got healing factor 2, immunity to hex and stun. Stun is really nice because he's actually, whilst he's not got a lot that he wants to spend power on, in terms of when you look at his card, the fact he can do that Guardian of the Nexus of all realities multiple times just means he can build that power up quite nicely. Injured side Quinn, nothing much changes, but he does go from 6 stamina down to 5.
Which I think is reasonable on a 3-threat healing factor 2 character.
Very much so.
With immunities and like no bad defense. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And also on that stun, actually, Quinn, I forgot to mention it. It does mean that something like Fisk, for example, he becomes a very viable model to take on something like Fisk, doesn't he? So yeah, he's slow, but he's not. He's got good damage output, potential displacement, dishes out conditions, multiple conditions. As you said, Quinn, healing factor for a 3-threat, reasonable defenses across the board, immune to hex, immune to stun. He's pretty darn good.
I mean, for a 3 with healing factor 2, like if he takes a hit and survives, then just goes, cool, I activate, I teleport 2 people, whack someone, pull them in, incinerate them, maybe do it a second time, and then I'll heal. Like, that's pretty good going as far as 3s are concerned. And like, even though he's got that slow move, it also means that he's like pretty resilient to control in terms of just sending him off into the middle of nowhere, which I think is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I was looking at his card, and I feel like if you gave this guy 7/6 stamina, he could almost make it as a viable 4-threat. Like he maybe an extra dice on his lashing tendrils. Like
I'd be looking for like a 4 defense on physical, maybe. I don't like for a 4-threat. Lashing tendrils being 6, I think, is a bit obscene. Like maybe you drop the pull to just be a wild or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But my point is, he's not far away, is he? From
No.
Like he's got a lot of really good stuff on his card, and the fact that he's doing so much innate, so he's not having to spend his power on all of his superpowers, does make him really, really good. He does also have a tactics card as well, and again, we did get to see this. Maybe one of my favourite names, Quinn, Dimensional Quagmire, which I do like and appreciate. Again, unaffiliated, again reactive, and again during the power phase, Quinn. An allied Man-Thing may spend 2 power to play this card. While this character is not dazed, until the end of the round, once per turn, the first time each turn an enemy character begins a movement within 3 of Man-Thing and ends that movement not within 3 of him, roll a die. If it's a crit, hit, or wild, place the enemy character within 3 of Man-Thing. Again, it's an interesting card. First of all, like, really good job AMG on making cards just do something a little bit different to what we've seen. It's something your opponent can play around if they can. But where this, I think, could come in real handy is all of a sudden, you're towards the latter end of a game and they've got a long move character and they want to get to a couple of pay to flips or something and they want to send an ASM off and go, pay and flip that one, pay and flip that one, or whoever it is. It just stops them being able to do it. And the fact it's a movement within 3. It's not a move action. It's not an advert. It's literally if they are going to charge, if they're going to place themselves, it's anything basically, isn't it? Yeah. I also think as well, Quinn, if you were to throw an enemy character and they were within 3 and then ended up out of 3, would that work then? I'm just reading.
I think so, yeah. And it's also the fact that the placement, if it does go off, isn't within 3 of where they end up. It's within 3 of Man-Thing. Someone can start one side of Man-Thing away from your entire team, try to run away, and you just go, yeah. Welcome to the quagmire.
I don't know how without playing with it, I don't know how impactful it's going to be on a game, but I really like it. Like, it can really mess your opponent's day up, can't it? Especially if you can trigger it with the throws and pushes and things, which I'm sure you can. Like, when this character is not dazed until the end of the round, once per turn, the first time each turn, an enemy character begins a movement. Yeah, I mean, that if you throw
the start of a throw is the beginning of a movement, I believe.
Yeah.
And this is where the people in the comments will tell us to learn how to use the internet, but no, don't want
to. No. Well, so the way that I'm reading this, and the reason why I think it will work, Quinn, is there is precedent at the other end, which is things like tricks and traps, when an enemy character ends a movement, and we know that you can throw somebody towards Mysterio, they land within 3 of him, Mysterio can then spend his power, and he can hit them. So it works at the end, so it should work at the beginning as well, because I think the wording is when an enemy character ends a movement within 3. So, yeah, I think it should work. Really interesting. Now, it does need... you've got a 50-50 chance, Quinn, haven't you, of being able to get it? Because it's hit crit wild. But I quite like the mods. Like, especially if you can do it during your turn as well as your opponent's turn. Especially on a character who they think is like, okay, they're on the point, but they've got... I'll tell you what's really interesting. Characters that have got like... what's the word? What's the one where you... Aggressive, where you can walk back. So if somebody attacks them, pushes them, this will trigger before their aggressive triggers. So you can just take them completely away, like a Bill or somebody who would just be able to move back onto a point. So yeah, I quite like it. It'll be interesting to see it in a game and try a few games out. Obviously, both these characters, Quinn, are going to be, at the very least, Midnight Suns. I think Man-Thing is only going to be Midnight Suns. I can't see...
I think Elsa's the Defender, right?
I think Elsa's going to be in Defenders as well. Yeah. Yeah. But just talking about Midnight Suns, they're not in a bad spot at the moment anyway. How do you think these 2 new characters Obviously, one of them is going to be more impactful than the other. But the fact that she's a new leader. But what do you think it does for Midnight Suns? Bearing in mind that we still have access to all of the other really cool cards that they have with Siege of Darkness and
I
things like that.
I think it diversifies their portfolio a little bit in terms of the different game plans they can take. I think there is an argument that Elsa's leadership is a bit more attrition focused and therefore is maybe more beneficial for how people have wanted to play Suns in the past as that big heavy attrition team with that big Siege Darkness turn and just all the different attacks that you can manipulate with bats potentially. So I think that will be helpful. I also think because Elsa is a more backline character, she'll then also bring to the forefront those frontliners that were maybe occupying a similar space to Blade that now actually don't have that competition and can just fully take on that role.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Like I said, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It brings a very, very different play style, doesn't it? And I know we've got a lot of grief over our not hatred of Blade. He's got an amazing leadership, but I think you spoke about it earlier where he is he is a frontline character, right? You want him up close and personal to be able to do the things that he wants to do, and A, it takes him a while to get there, and B, once he's there, he goes down pretty quick. Yes, Elsa suffers from the same. I mean, it's almost the same problems, right? With Elsa,
I mean, she's identical defensively, right?
yeah, identical defensively, but the difference there is Elsa can be shooting at range 4 and do a lot of the things she wants at range 4. And you know what? If she needs to get up to be able to do one of her big attacks, she can use her run and gun once and then use her run and gun again.
Gun and run.
Gun and run, yeah. So yeah, I think there's quite a big difference between the two characters. And I just think I can see a place for them both. Maps down the middle, for example, that area 2 damage is just going to be brutal, right, on Gamma or something like that. And then maybe on some of the wider maps, that's where Blade still has a place because he can give people the bump.
I mean, on a B, I think bump is really valuable because you can go move bump from one B on a side to the other B on a side and still get attacks in that way. I think Elsa's a very strong web warrior counter, given that she can just have people walk up and go, have a route, have a route, have a route.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely. And the slow as well, right? That's another thing that's another thing that really hurts web warriors.
And incinerate, funnily enough.
And incinerate because they don't tend to have great defenses, do they?
It's also just less dice to re-roll, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm excited about them, Quinn. I think it's going to be a good start to 2025. Midnight Suns are never an affiliation that I've really found myself enjoying, and I think it's been because of Blade, because they've got some of my favorite characters in there. I quite like the guys that are wearing leather jackets, which is a prerequisite, right, of being Midnight Suns. Like, you've got to be able to don yourself a leather jacket.
But so channel exclusive, Rich likes men wearing leather.
Yeah, that was going to
just for anyone out there who's interested. You now have that information. You're welcome.
That one's going to get clipped and taken out of context, isn't it?
Goddamn right.
But yeah, I think an affiliation that was already doing fine, some really nice characters, some good leaders, some good tactics cards as well. I think having a new leader is going to breathe some new life into them, and I think, as you said earlier, Quinn, allow people to play Midnight Suns in a way that people want to play them, which is that little bit more attrition focused. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to take Ghost Rider and Elsa on some little journeys together.
Oh, I bet you can't. Could you not pick a cooler character to be obsessed with? Come on.
I just love Ghost Rider. I think he's ace.
He's not even Isn't that cool? It's like, oh, I'm a skeleton on fire. Look at me go.
He's
Great.
not a skeleton on fire. He's a
He
human.
is.
He just has a skeletal head,
He's a
doesn't he?
human dressed as a skeleton on fire. I
Oh,
just
dearie me.
no. Boring. Go away.
Deary me. And do you know the nice thing? There's a nice two threat in one to sit on my back point and be my deal with the devil target as well.
Yeah, because we love
Thanks.
that card on the channel, don't we?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, 50% of the channel does.
I don't even know if you like it anymore because you know how obscene it is.
And we had people arguing with us trying to tell us that it wasn't obscene. Yeah. We're going to leave it there, Quinn. But yeah, exciting start. Hopefully, because we have already had Nova revealed as well, but we're going to do a similar thing and we're going to take a look at Nova and hopefully Yondu side by side. So we'll do that. But yeah, we're going to try and get some games in with them as well. Has it made you want to play a bit of MCP, Quinn, and play a bit of Midnight Suns?
Rohan Man.
I know you're
Rohan
playing
Man.
Rohan Man at the moment. Yes, I'm actually painting up my. I'm painting up my tag. Oh, I've painted up tag somewhere. I don't know where he's gone. I should probably find him.
the most listened to advisor in the history of advisors. Yeah.
Deary me, the
They
poor
did
guy.
him so dirty, man.
They really did. They really did. We're talking about the War of the Rohirrim movie for anyone that hasn't seen it. Don't believe the haters, by the way. It's a perfectly serviceable Lord of the Rings film. That's all I'll say on the matter. We are going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to try and get the second part of the 5-threat tier list video out. Just a quick one as well. If you do want to catch me on another podcast, I did just recently record a couple of episodes with Lexa over on their Morlocks podcast channel. I think it might be a Patreon's only thing. I'll find out. But we round up some of our favourite movies and TV shows of both the year, but then also the past half decade as well. So if you want to see how bad my taste in movies and TV shows is, go and check that out as well. Once I've got a link and it's done, I'll put a link down in the description below and on the community page as well. I want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and the YouTube members. And if you do want to support us, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. But as always, you don't need to do any of that. Just simply liking, commenting, subscribing really, really does help. But if you do want to support us, head down into the description. There'll be a link, or you can just hit that join button to become a YouTube member. Check out the Discord. We're going to be doing our next MCP event in early January, probably the first week back after the new year. So hopefully, who knows, I'll either be playing Midnight Suns or Guardians, depending on how good Yondu is. Yeah, because we're going to be running an event. And yeah, if you're interested in MESBG, you can probably find me and Quinn in the new year scouring the MESBG circuit and seeing if we can be any good at it. You've played it before, Quinn. You're quite good at it, aren't you?
It was the first system I ever played a tournament in.
There we go. We're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, it leaves me just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.
Nerf Web Warriors.
You can't do it on these ones.
I can have